Hi everyone, this is Matthew Janda for CardRunners, and I'm making a No Limit 100 zone video. And I'm going to continue right from last session, where I stopped off for the last 30-minute segment. So you're going to see me jump right back in, and that's why you see me have stack sizes that aren't $100, even though they're No Limit 100 tables. Alright, so let's jump in. Okay. So I talked about it in the last 30-minute segment, but before you start playing, it's probably a good idea to go over what your goals are for what you're trying to improve on, so you know the leaks to look for, and to make sure you don't make mistakes and don't get overwhelmed. Here, I'm definitely going to fold 4-5 suited under the gun, because there's also 2 short stacks, so the type of equity this hand has, I think it plays better in stack depth that's different than 50 big blinds deep. 50 big blinds deep, the hands you kind of want to make are really good pairs, whereas, 100 or 150 or 200 big blinds deep, now let's talk flushes and sets and straights. But honestly, as an under the gun open, even a 5-high flush, it can win big pots, but it probably shouldn't win too many massive pots. So yeah, I think that's an easy fold under the gun. If you are opening that hand, it needs to be, I think, with different stack depth against opponents that you think you have a significant edge against. So, again, I have no doubt some live players watch videos like this, and if you're freaking out and being like, oh my gosh, because that's how live players sound, oh my gosh, you got to open 4-5 suited under the gun. By all means, do it. Just understand it's probably not a theoretically correct open, and you should be very aware of stack depth, because the value of those hands change pretty dramatically based on how deep people are. I talked about that a bit in a tournament theory series I made, which I would recommend checking out. I think that series actually turned out really well, even though it's a very small series. All right, so if this guy limps, we're definitely raising. Against just a raise, we're going to call. Yeah, okay. So yeah, that is a bad flop. So yeah, you want to be aware of how the value of your hand changes based on stack depth. I have enough air hand here, air hands with more robust equity that I can bet. I'm honestly just going to try to check down 6 and win at showdown. Really, I want to run a runner straight. Well, we're halfway there. Or, well, not halfway. I want to run a runner straight or just turn a set. But, yeah, I don't think I really need to bet this hand. It does deny equity by betting. Like, I can make my opponent fold, some ace-9 off, which is still kind of useful, and prevent myself from getting bluffed off later. But I think with just pocket 6s with this type of equity, we just want to check it down. Even though it might be more, satisfying to bet, because if he folds, we're just whew, no decision to make. Whereas, now, if he bets the river, it's kind of ugh. Because he easily could be bluffing. I would probably bluff here if I were him, sometimes go check, check, bluff. But, so it puts us in a gross spot, whereas if we bet, we probably just feel, better. Okay, so, if we were to bet this flop, which I don't think is correct, it feels better, especially because I might have just made him bet and fold. Whereas the way it was played, I'm pretty okay with calling here. I think I am gonna call. I think that's really close, and I'm gonna get shown... Got him. I'm gonna get shown some, Jackson stuff sometimes. Yeah, I don't really care all that much for calling on the river or not. I think it was a call, because I think it's kind of hard for me to have a pair there, and I think, as you said... So whenever I'm bluff catching, I'm always saying, okay, if I was this dude, would I have bluffs? If I was coaching this guy, or if I was playing in this guy's shoes, would I be that seems like a pretty decent spot to bluff, or would it be God, that bluff is terrible? And if the answer is very often God, that bluff is terrible, in which case, I'm going to assume my opponent's not usually bluffing very often, because it is a bad idea. This is actually the highest limit that I see running on zone, but it's still, the tables are pretty soft, and it's a bad idea to try to be making, fancy bluffs at No Limit 100 zone. So I'm just going to assume my opponents aren't doing too many of those. But for that spot, with the pocket 6s, I actually think, I'm fine with the way he played that hand. The hand had very little equity on the flop, very little equity on the turn, but then on the river, it's it's not even really queen high, because it's the worst possible queen high. On the cusp right here, I think I do open this. Ooh, that seems really close. Yeah, I'm going to do it. Really close there. Might be part of a mixed strat or something, or maybe it's just a slightly profitable open or a slightly bad open. Don't really care there. I used to fold those hands. Snowy seems to like opening them more. It's a whole it's a whole big thing, so I'm just not even going to touch it. That is not a board where I'm going to c-bet. Nah. So, conceptually, again, it might be similar to the queen 2 suited hand we just saw. I'm not saying I'm not going to bluff here, although, honestly, I think I'm probably likely not going to. I'll bluff a queen on the turn, but, I'm probably not going to bluff here. But, if I was going to bluff, I'm going to bluff on a later street. That might be one of them. Yeah, I'll bluff now. So, when I checked the flop, I wasn't just I'm giving up on my bluffs. But, so here I want to bet, I don't think I'm making any ace or, That even might have been too big, but I think it's fine. I don't think I'm making any ace, or obviously a 10's not going anywhere, but I think 5 is enough to make him fold like 6s, 7s, 8s, 9s. So when I check that king jack off on the flop, I think betting would have actually been negative EV, but checking is at the very least positive EV. And I'm not just like, I'm checking to give up. I'm just like, I'm checking because I can't see the future. I don't know if I'm going to turn a king or a jack or a queen or an ace, but I can probably do something on most of those turn cards if it's checked to me.